Hello and welcome to Riff Vues. It was announced earlier this week that the She-Hulk comic was being cancelled, along with many of Marvel's SJW comics. Now, for me, this is a little bittersweet since Jen is my favorite Marvel character, going way back to John Byrne's Fantastic Four run back in the day. And I've pretty much collected all her series, even series that she co-starred in, like Hellcat and A-Force of the recent ones. And besides, how can you not love a character that likes Queen? But that being said, this was a video a year in the making. You see, I wanted to review the first couple issues as they came out, as others have done. But the pacing was so poor that I figured I'd just do a video after a year's worth of issues and then look at what went wrong. And boy, there is a lot. First, a little bit of backstory. During Civil War II, Jen was critically injured and was in a coma after her fight with Thanos, and she took a missile to the chest or whatever. She awoke from her coma to find that fellow Avenger Hawkeye had killed her cousin Bruce, to the public's approval. Now, the premise of the new series, not called She-Hulk, but called Hulk, was that this was going to show how the death of Bruce and her coma and injuries, how they affected her and how she'll cope. Not really a bad idea, to be honest, but it was executed pretty badly, so without any further ado, let's take a look at the issues. So here we are at issue number 1. Some of the covers aren't bad. This one took me a while before I realized why I didn't like it. I think that the issue was supposed to be, basically panned up, where it was supposed to have her waist near the bottom of the cover, her face fully shown, maybe the logo up top there. The reason why I say this is her hips are really bothering me. Generally, from an artistic standpoint, a woman's shoulders and hips should be the same width. And here you can tell that her hips are much more slender than her shoulders. But that could be going with the whole removing the she from She-Hulk. The whole can't have pretty girls in SJW Marvel. Also, I'd forgotten during Civil War II that after Jen woke up, she was actually gray. So they show that on the cover here. You can see a little bit of the green scarves. Not that you'll be seeing much of that in the series for quite a while, so it serves more as a reminder. Now, on the first page, where we have the credits and everything, you'll notice that they say, She-Hulk is no more. Now Jen is only Hulk. Now, I'm not familiar with the writer, Mariko Tamaki. I get the feeling that she's never actually read She-Hulk before, or even really knows what's going on in the rest of Marvel, because there is already a Cho Hulk running around. We'll bring this up later, not that Cho will ever appear, but when we open up the issue, we come to Jen, who is just trying to live a normal life. And they get a little cutesy with the titles and the captions and that. One thing that's interesting is that Jen, who in previous series, when she works as a lawyer for a firm, they generally prefer her to be Jen Walters and not She-Hulk. So why does she have all her stuff up so high for her She-Hulk form? That would make more sense back in the early days, in the 80s when she was locked in She-Hulk form and when she actually preferred to be a She-Hulk. But as she's been maturing and evolving as a character, she's become more comfortable as Jen Walters too. So I'm not quite sure why this whole scene of her having to stand on something to look in the mirror. Now, it takes 3 pages just to defeat her first adversary, the door. And then after that, she gets blasted by all the sounds and the noise and all the people as she's trying to live her own life. And here's where we start to see that Jen is suffering from PTSD. That's something we'll come back to again in later issues. Now she comes to her office, and I'll be honest, I don't remember if she ever worked for Ryu, Barber, Zucker, and Scott before. I'm trying to remember who she worked for in the Slot series, but it wasn't this company. So I'm not sure if this is a new job or she took a leave of absence. It says old law firm, new office, but I don't recognize this name or any of the people that's working in this office. And she gets introduced around, and it's a nice diverse cast. We have an Asian lady. It looks like we have a couple Asian ladies. We got a black guy. We have a white guy, balding. Here's something interesting, and I didn't notice this until I reread the series. Every white guy that appears for more than 2 panels and has a name and is straight is an antagonist. He will be a bad guy. Maybe a little bit misguided, but he will not be a good guy, so keep an eye on that. Another thing that bothers me about this is it's obvious that Tamaki has never worked a real job. She's never worked in an office. Because when someone starts in a new job or comes back, they're not seeing clients their first day. They're doing their W-2s, they're getting their passwords, they're getting their system set up, their email, they're getting into place. No company would have someone just sitting in the person's office in the dark waiting for them. That's just not how businesses work. Now this new character, I think she's an Inhuman. I'll be honest, I don't really care for the Inhumans. But she's being evicted, and that's going to be the story going on. It's going to be the continuing story arc for pretty much the first few issues. So once she leaves her office, she picks up some Chinese food on the way home. She's getting texts from Hellcat. And then she meets someone who will appear a few times, named Florida Mayor. Now, somehow I missed this at first because I thought I thought Flo was a guy. I didn't realize that this person was supposed to be a woman until later on. The art doesn't make it look like a woman. And, these days, Florida, not really your typical name. I don't know, maybe this is a surprise visit from Aunt Flo. I don't know if they're going for that. But what's interesting about this visit is that this character Flo shows more interest in Jen and more concern about her than, say, Carol Danvers, who was there when Jen got hurt, who was following the Amadeus Cho Hulk when they thought that he was going to retaliate for Bruce's death. Why is it that this character shows more interest in Jen than her friends? And that is something we're going to see. Because remember, Jen is now a Grey Hulk. She's evolved. She's going through PTSD. If there's anyone that the superhero community should be watching, it is Jen. Now, I don't know, I guess no one cares but Hellcat. So then she gets into her apartment and then starts breaking down and starts smashing the buttons on the elevator door and has to calm herself down by watching cooking videos, which, again, we're going to see that later. And she ends up in a fetal position trying to calm down. She has PTSD. Where are her friends? Now, you notice that we haven't really seen She-Hulk in this series. At least not yet. We've only seen Jen trying to keep her cool. And, well, you're going to find that in the early issues, her enemies are doors, both regular and elevators, and a table. That is who she's fought in the first issue. That has been the big conflict. And the issue ends with this Inhuman, whose name I've already forgotten, talking to the darkness. Now here we are in issue 2. Again, cover composition is kind of, I kind of like it. It's struggling to maintain control. But She-Hulk is normally green. The Jen Hulk is gray with those green glowing scars, wounds, whatever. So why is she red on the cover? Reddish pink. is this supposed to be as Jen is still Jen turning into Hulk? Why she's so pink with green glowing eyes? Whatever. We open with Jen, leaving the office, talking on the phone to her assistant, and starts off with eating. Now, when I first read the series, when I first read the issue, that's when I noticed that the author was a female, because there's a lot of food. She's eating the pain away with snacks. So, now the cherry air freshener, I don't get this. Is this supposed to be a joke? I'm not sure, but we're introduced to, here we go, straight male character named Mr. Tick. Okay, fine, haha, bloodsucker, whatever. Again, white guy, straight stereotype here. Yeah, he's a bad guy. So, yeah, she has her little confrontation with him, and then we have her leave and go out to the park where she watched some kids build a snowman, and they start fighting as the Avengers, and the snowman is supposed to be Hulk, and their friends act like Hawkeye and kill the snowman, kill Hulk. I actually kind of like this scene. This is not a bad scene, something that just triggers her PTSD. This part, there's a few well done parts here. I thought this was one of those nice parts. Until a surprise visit from Aunt Flo shows up again. Now, this is where we're starting to see the cracks really obvious, the PTSD, but for some reason she has the green glowing eyes, and she races to her office and starts tearing stuff out, and she pulls out her phone and cracks the screen to get to her cooking show. We see the scars start to come, and she's trying to calm herself down. Jen is not well. Why is the superhero community and her friends, this is someone who was a major part of the Fantastic Four, a major part of the Avengers, why is no one reaching out to her? Even checking up on her. This makes no freaking sense. Now it goes into the B plot of the creepy Inhuman. So then we cut back to the office, and Jen is trying to calm down, and her assistant is talking to her. And she says that she broke a chair and a few other things. Again, if you're an inanimate object in this series, you have a limited lifespan. So her assistant talks her down. This might be, kind of reminds me of Terry from the old Kyle Green Lantern book, because as they're getting into the elevator, he says, "I don't know if you have ever had a super gay office assistant before." And that's when I stopped and looked up Mariko, because that's when I knew a guy did not write this. There is no way a guy could get away with writing that line. That is so ham-fisted. Gay people don't talk like that to straight people, unless they've known them for a while. That's why I did some research into Mariko and found out that she's from Toronto, and apparently she's a lesbian. And I find it interesting because I used to vacation in Toronto. I've actually been there several times during Pride Fest as a straight guy. In fact, I made sure to go to Fly because I wanted to see what the place looked like when it was dressed up as Avalon for Queer as Folk. And yeah, everyone is super friendly and everything, but they generally don't talk like that to straight people. Even especially in an office setting, because it's really kind of uncomfortable if you don't know the person, especially to call yourself a super gay office assistant. And that's why I'm bringing up the whole Toronto thing, because Toronto is a very gay-friendly city. So I can imagine someone that lives in Toronto, has never held a real office job, would think that this is how people talk. There's no subtlety to it at all. It's It's amazing. So the issue ends with Jen and Mr. Tick both being followed and, simultaneously, and then something bad happens. And in this issue, Jen is so far defeated. So far the count is an elevator button, a tabletop, cell phone screen, a nefarious chair, probably for touching her ass, to be honest, as well as other things. This series is boring. It's badly paced, which is why I did not review it all individual issues. I wanted to do it all at once because I was waiting to see if it picked up, if it would read better in trade. No. Let's go on to issue 3. Now, issue 3 starts off with the attack on Mr. Tick, and as you see, he has been killed. It's early morning, police are on the scene, and Marvel citizens still hate superheroes. It kind of wavers, I guess, between what series. So, one thing I thought was kind of funny was the reporter saying, the perpetrator was not human. You think? You're standing right there. You can see the smashed pavement where the body has been covered. Do you think an average person can do that? I focus on that because later on down the page we get Trigger City. Jesus Christ. I hate this book. So then her assistant walks in, her super gay assistant Bradley walks in and she slams her laptop down and smashes it. That's our newest casualty. This one, however, I'll allow. I work in IT. I've seen people without superhuman strength do this exact same thing when closing a laptop. So, okay, fine. I'll let this go. But she gets a package from Flo full of feminist literature and tea, and Jen calls her a crackpot for getting all these books. It's actually kind of ironic when you think about it, isn't it? So finally, Patsy actually calls Jen instead of just texting. And this is where it gets a little bit weird because we finally see She-Hulk. Again, in a reflection. And she's green. Did you know She-Hulk's gray now? You wouldn't know that because we're 3 issues into the series and we still haven't seen her. So Jen's talking, she gets on an elevator, she goes up on a roof and finds someone crying, and Hellcat is just up there waiting for her. We're talking about Aunt Flo being the stalker, but how did Hellcat know she was going to be up on that roof? And again, why is Patsy the only person that calls? Why is she the only person besides Flo that cares? And I know this has been a thing, back in Patsy's series and in Jen's last series, that they were besties, as they say. How long has that been going on? I feel like I've missed some type of really deep connection that the two of them established. So Jen pushes her away, and again, that just bugs me. Fantastic Four, Avengers. Jen knows everyone. She has connections even to the X-Men. Why is Patsy the only one that comes by? And again, here's where we see that Mariko has no idea about Jen's character. When we see the panel that says, "Why do I care so much about what happens to Maisie Bruin?" Because that has always been Jen's nature. She's always been the type to care for people. I hate this book. So yeah, we get some more backstory of Maisie, and we're seeing the parallels between she and Jen. And the issue ends with cops dragged off as Maisie just watches. I'm going to start doing these issues a little bit quicker. Again, not a lot happens, and I could nitpick so many things, but we'll just go ahead and try and speed things up a little bit. Here we are in issue 4, and we have a dream flashback to where Maisie Bruin is attacked. And I'm not sure if this is supposed to be what really happened or just her dream, but she has these glowing-faced ninjas that assault her. And to be honest, I want to know more about the glowing-faced ninjas. They look cool as heck, and they look like a good adversary. Maybe Jen's going to go hunt them down. No. I'm going to tell you right now, we're never going to see them again. Because that's the way this book works. So we go back to Jen at the office. She's talking to her assistant. And there's something I want to point out here. When Bradley says, I'm going to start bringing you tea. Also, my boyfriend and I made bagels, so I'm bringing those in tomorrow. So everyone's world just got better. You see, that's how you do it. That's how you introduce that a character is gay. It's a little bit more subtle, just regular conversation. You don't just announce yourself as, you're a super gay office assistant. Little nitpick, I know. But again, it shows that Marika Tamaki does not have much experience in the real world. So we go through a little bit as Jen's trying to go to Maisie and investigate a little bit. And while she's talking to Maisie, they kind of bond, and she flashes back, and oh my god, we get to see She-Hulk again. Oh, wait, it's a flashback. And she's green. And talking about being hurt, and she goes into her coma. And that's about it. They kind of have a little fight, and it moves on from there as Jen gets kind of sucked up into the weird house thing going on. Issue 5 opens up with a flashback, you think? As Jen is coming out of her coma and Carol's standing there talking to her. But we find out it's actually just a dream sequence because Bruce then shows up to talk to her and ends up having an arrow go through his head, and then Jen really wakes up, I suppose, and starts hulking out. Not quite sure where exactly the dream ends or if the whole thing is a dream, but it's really ticking me off that we're 5 issues in and Jen has yet to become Hulk, She-Hulk, or whatever she's supposed to be. 5 issues in and we have not seen her as her title character. So yeah, then we have Jen trying to escape from Maisie Bruin, and as this goes on, I'm really not quite sure. Is the house like a Doctor Strange house where it has the black goo? Or is Maisie controlling it? Is it just listening? It looks like, based on the way her eye color changes and she got the squiggly things, like she's controlling it. But and then cut to the cops as they're trying to sanction everyone off. They're investigating the Tick case, smash in the street about 24 hours ago. The timelines don't really seem to add up. And then tendrils start coming down and SWAT shows up. But SWAT was already on their way. What triggered SWAT to come? This whole thing doesn't make any sense. There's kind of action going on, granted, but why would SWAT already be there as the tendrils are starting to come down? It's like they already knew what was up. So then she has her little face-off with the inhabitants of the building, and again, she won't turn to Hulk. She's trying to face everything as Jen Walters, but then at the very end of the issue, she starts going grayish-green, and her eye glows, and has stuff coming out of it. What are these glowing green wounds on her anyway? Are they scars? Why are they glowing? Again, 5 issues in, and she's just now turning into the Hulk? Okay, fine. I'm about ready to give up. Okay, so we open up with another flashback. This book spends most of its time somewhere else than in the present. And we establish more of Jen and Bruce's relationship. Again, Green She-Hulk. Hey, remember her? Remember when she was this character? Remember when you liked her as this character? Yeah, we're gonna stop on all that. So yeah, here we are, issue 6. This fear creature thing is enveloping the building. You know, I don't care. I'm not even really sure what's going on with all the weird people in Maisie Bruin's building. I just don't care. But we finally see Jen turning into She-Hulk. I'm sorry, gotta break that habit. Into Hulk. And, you know, she does the whole goodbye, Jen, you know, rawr, hello, fear, hello, Hulk. That's not how it works. It's not how it ever worked for her. And again, here we get to see her finally in the book, not just on the cover, not just that one scene in Civil War II. We finally get to see her in her current form. Gray with green scars and this thing with her spine going on. I'm not quite sure what that's all about. But here we are. We are 6 issues into the series. Remember, that's 6 months of time. We finally have a fight scene. We finally have Jen being Hulk. You know, the whole reason why you buy this book called Hulk, is to see Hulk. But no, you see Jen. Why not call it Jen Walters the Hulk? Because we saw Jen far more than we see Hulk. And yeah, we have, again, you get to a point where you just don't care anymore. She fights this creature back and forth, and they have a talk about who the real monster is, and Maisie's blaming Jen. Again, that whole victim complex, you know, it's never their fault, you know, it's always someone else's fault. And then it turns into a frickin' video game. Seriously? Exploding barrels. Where did these come from? Who just has exploding barrels sticking around, except for a video game? You know, these convenient exploding barrels. And so Jen, of course, being Jen, rescues Maisie and gets her to the hospital, but, you know, Aunt Flo again suddenly appears once a month in this issue and has some advice. And we see Jen starting to come to terms with her being a monster and a different kind of monster. And it's a horrible world where it's fighting for cliche. And, oh, God. You know, I was once diagnosed with PTSD. And I'm not talking about an online course or test. I actually went to a doctor, was diagnosed, I went through treatment, went through therapy, and that's why I'm fascinated by this. One of my favorite characters, so you can see what she's going through. And we see the typical Tumblr PTSD, where she just doesn't want to face up, and it really annoys the hell out of me that we're not seeing her reach out to any of her friends, reach out for any help. None of her friends are reaching out for her. Mind you, we are 6 issues into the series, and we've only seen Hellcat and this Aunt Flo person show up to help, to show any kind of compassion. If you don't count the super gay Bradley boyfriend guy, whatever. But this is why I couldn't do this every issue once a month. I had to do it in bulk, even though it's wearing me down. Oh, but we still have a lot more to go. Because as it says, to be continued. Issue 7 has a neat cover I want to point out. I actually like this cover. Although, it makes me wonder something I never thought before. When Jen puts on mascara and eyeliner, and then she turns into She-Hulk, does the mascara stay? Or is that why, you know, now it's running? But regardless, I like this cover because it shows Jen inside Hulk's eye, as she's banging, struggling to get out, you know, from within inside the monster Hulk. Why is it this cover has shown more psychological and emotional depth than this entire series has so far? Anyway, let's go ahead and let's get into this. We have Jen meeting with the Trauma Club. And the first rule of Trauma Club... Okay, they made the joke already, so... Anyway, at least it's not in flashback like most of these other issues have started out. So we have Jen with a bunch of normal people talking about deceased wives. And again, it makes me wonder, why is she not reaching out to the superhuman community? You know, the heroes who would understand what she's going through, who have probably been there as well. You know, the beast that takes over. She knows Doc Samson. Leonard Samson, who is both gamma radiated and a psychiatrist. The perfect person to talk to, and we know he's alive because he showed up in Civil War II. In fact, I think they even made a joke about him being alive. But at least she's making some progress. It cuts away from there to these two guys. One's kind of a portly dude, reminds me of a young Microchip from the Punisher series, and this Chad-looking guy who I swear has been memed. And, again, point out, named male characters who are not gay and appear in more than 2 panels, they're bad guys. Bet you didn't see that one coming. So anyway, they go to buy Monster from... Whoa, wait. What the hell is this? I honestly didn't know. I still don't know if this is a guy or a girl. You know, whoever that they're buying this from. I looked at this panel for quite a while with the sunken cheeks and... Anyway. So we cut back to Jen as the trauma club is breaking up. And one of the people there starts talking about feelings and how, you know, you should explain, you know, good is... But Jen talks about how you can get in touch with your feelings and how that phrase pisses her off. I kind of like this scene. It's a really real scene. And it's one of the few times in this series where you think, okay, Mariko is going to do something. She knows what she's talking about. And yeah, it's just one of the few brief moments. And then Jen goes and hulks out. Again, this is what? The second time in the book that we've seen her as She-Hulk. It's like, hey, it's She-Hulk. 7 issues. And this is only the second time we've seen her. And she's breaking up things at a construction site. You know, it is safer to be a supervillain in this book than an inanimate object. Because you won't get smashed that way. But if you're an inanimate object, oh, you're getting booted to next week. So then, Hellcat shows up again. Seriously, what is the deal with her stalking Jen? And we see Jen's talking a little bit more, you know, it got a little bit of camaraderie going. Then we cut back to the set called Only Cake. So it's a YouTube show. And of course, we have 2 gay protagonists. The 2 guys, of course, being gay, that's how you know they're the good guys. And they have this channel that has almost 100,000 followers. Make a note of that. And then the 2 guys we saw earlier buying the monster show up. And, you know, they talk about what's going on with those guys. And Oliver, the host, says they're straight. Why is it that they're straight is used almost as an insult? I can't imagine why SJW Marvel Comics were failing so badly. Anyway, we cut away from them to Jen and Patsy kind of chilling out, talking. They finally start talking about being She-Hulk or Hulk. 7 issues in, we're finally addressing why she's not calling herself She-Hulk and why she's suddenly gray. And it's done with a little bit of light banter, and Hellcat teases her about watching weird baking videos. Again, we saw her earlier eating. This book is a lot about eating. So we cut back to the set of the 2 bad straight guys, Steven and whatever. Again, I can't be bothered to remember their names. And so, they have a live cooking show that they do on YouTube that they've set up, rented this big set. Okay, fine. Now, I've done a little bit of TV stuff, and I've seen what happens with cooking shows like this. They'll have a final product already made so that you don't have to sit there and wait the 60, 40 minutes, whatever, for something to bake. So, okay, isn't it a good thing that Oliver just happened to make a green cake because that monster stuff is a green powdery liquid thing that he pours on top. Why pour on top of it? Why not put it into the mix that... Okay, so he spiked a cake that was already made, so okay, whatever. So we get to see when Oliver actually gets ready, takes a bite, and then becomes Cake Thing, while Jen happens to be watching live, and then the feed gets cut. It's also kind of funny that for a live feed, they have already dislikes. That's a nice touch. Have I mentioned that we are 8 issues in, and Jen has only fought 1 villain? I just thought I'd point that out. Anyway, issue 8 opens with the social media reaction to what happened to Oliver, and how people are believing this. Should they call 911? Is it being faked? I like this one guy, Master Baker. So, Jen calls Bradley, who is freaking out about what happened, and, did he explode, and, wait, why was super gay assistant Bradley watching this? Did he get the gay signal? So Jen says, I'll be back in the office soon, and looks at her card, but instead, she turns into the Hulk and jumps into the nighttime New York sky. And she says Oliver. She's been doing that quite frequently since this happened, just repeating his name. Now, something I think I need to address. Back in the day, Marvel editors would send writers previous issues that a character has appeared in, so that they would get a feel for the character, their voice, know how they would act. I don't think Mariko has ever read a She-Hulk comic, because She-Hulk is a smart woman. She's a lawyer. She's intelligent. This She-Hulk is dumb. What I mean here is, she decides to forego her car, she hulks out, she jumps into the nighttime New York sky. Why? Where's she going? She doesn't know where Oliver's studio is. Is she jumping to the office as Hulk? Why is she doing this? So, the next morning, pre-coffee early, Jen is now in a fresh set of clothes. She's in her human form. And it says that it took a bit of sleuthing to find the studio where Oliver shoots his series. What was her sleuthing? Was she jumping around? Again, show don't tell. That's one of the problems with this series. But we do find out why Bradley was so interested in the cooking show, why he was watching it. Because, as Jen says, he loves a gay man making cakes. You see, a straight writer would be lynched if they wrote that line. Now, this goes back to what I was saying with Jen being a smart person. She's a lawyer. Here we are at the studio where this was filmed. There's a big hole in the walls. Sunlight's coming in. Wait, why haven't the authorities shown up? Where are the cops? Where's anyone? And Jen, you're a lawyer. Why are you touching a crime scene? Why are you touching everything? She's picking up things, and this owner of the property of this woman, it's like Mariko learned a new word, because she says frickin' all the time. And that, you'll start seeing that as Mariko has to keep using that line. We cut back to Warren, the boyfriend, going to see Oliver, and Oliver is now full caked out monster and escapes. And wait a minute, at the end of this panel, when Jen and Bradley are talking, they say that he has 500,000 followers on YouTube. Wait, the night before, he did not even have 100,000 followers. You're saying overnight he has suddenly gotten 400,000 followers? I don't care how viral something goes. He may get that many views. If they said views, I say, okay, fine. It really went viral. But no, editorial. Pay attention to your freaking books. Oh, sorry, now I'm doing it. So, Cake Thing catches up with Steve and the other guy, and looks like he's going to have his big vengeance. And then it cuts back to Jen and Bradley, and then goes to Oliver trying to get more monster juice, and goes to the place where the monster juice was bought. No idea what happened with Steve and the other guy. I assume he just got information out of them, but apparently he's a nice gay guy. Remember, he's not the bad guy. He's a misunderstood monster. The two straight guys are the bad guys. Remember that. And the issue ends with Jen climbing to a rooftop where she decides to fall off backwards to turn into Hulk. And wait a minute, don't think I didn't notice this. I know we're trying not to make She-Hulk sexy or anything, but she's wearing a pink blouse as she's falling. It's a button-down blouse. We see it straining, and we see her flesh underneath turning gray. And then when she lands, she's wearing a pink sports bra. There's no line down it with buttons, so it's not the top torn off. And she didn't have that on underneath because we would have seen it. Again, editorial, not paying attention. But yeah, artists, you could have just looked back at the previous page you drew and seen what you drew and knew that she should not be wearing a sports bra, or she should have something that has buttons on it. Again, Marvel editorial, not paying attention. Are you ready for an art shift? Because issue 9 has an art shift. So we find Oliver, who is hiding behind a couple dumpsters for some reason. And apparently he's holding 3 tablets that he got from the drug house, where I guess monster juice that was poured onto the cake was more of a liquidy, but to turn back to human, you get 3 candy corn-like tablets. Okay, you know what? I don't even question anymore. Let's just go with that. So he runs away, and Jen and super gay assistant Bradley show up to visit Warren, Oliver's boyfriend, to find out if they were able to reach him. And Jen decides she's going to make a house call. And Warren and super gay assistant Bradley go out for a drive. And they start comparing how Oliver is Cake Thing and Jen is She-Hulk. They're kind of malevolent monsters. I think that's where they're going with that. But hey, look, the police showed up. They actually showed up at the drug house, and surprise, surprise, Patsy Walker, the Hellcat, is there because she's stalking Jen for some reason. And so they're talking about how the place got shut down. How did the cops get there so quickly when the studio went like 12 hours before anyone showed up? But anyway, Hellcat, says that if Jen needs her, she'll zoom into the rescue. And stop trying to be funny, Mariko. You're not funny. It's just not funny. So we cut back to a gas station where Cake Thing has his pills, which are now capsules and no longer candy corn tablets. I'm not quite sure why he went to the restroom at the gas station. Maybe he needs bathroom water to drink down the pills. I don't even question it anymore. Let's cut to Steve and Ray, who are, talking about fleeing the country. They're about to head to Mexico. Okay, fine. They're gonna get some sleep on the floor. Okay, fine. When Jen happens to find them and she shows up and... stop trying to be funny. It's just... You're not funny, Mariko. So she shows up and she's threatening them. Okay, great. She's a lawyer. She's a superhero. She's going to capture them and she's going to turn them over to the police so they can face charges for drugging someone, live online. And no, he threatens to sue her and she says she's a lawyer. And then she tells them to take down the website and then walks away. Again, why does Mariko think Jen is an idiot? These people, just a few pages ago, were talking about fleeing to Mexico. They were going to leave the country. and Jen captures them and then decides to just let them leave. Yeah, I'm done caring. So Oliver takes his capsules and, hey look, he's not Cake Thing anymore. He's turned back human until his teeth start falling out, and apparently these capsules made him more of a monster, and he decided to start bashing cars. Again, I'm kind of beyond caring at this point. So here we are at issue 10, as we're coming up to the finale of the second story arc in the Hulk series. And again, we mentioned this cover, 2 issues ago, issue 8. Now we have the flip of it, where it's Jen, but she has She-Hulk inside her, looking a little bit calmer. And this cover with the donut, again, what is it with food? But this cover reminds me of something. Oh yeah, here we go. Okay, now it makes more sense. So we have the big fight on the bridge, and here we have, once again, Mariko is not doing the show Don't Tell. And she does a good analogy. I think this, where Jen's talking about Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, is what Mariko was really trying to go for. The whole monster doesn't show up till halfway through the series, which is true. We didn't see Hulk for most of the series until, issue 6? But, Mariko, you are not Mary Shelley, okay? So yeah, we see the comparisons, and the fight is actually kind of interesting. We see Jen and super gay assistant Bradley and Oliver's boyfriend Warren just kind of watching Cake Thing go on. And, I kind of have a problem with this. Jen is just standing on someone's car and watching things go on. And she has to kind of think about Bruce before she jumps in to help. And then she turns into Hulk and then jumps off the person's car. Again, Jen is not stupid. When Jen is Hulk, she's like 600 pounds. That person in the car should be dead. Not just a 600-pound person standing on the car, but then using the force to jump off the car. That person should be squashed. So then, yeah, the art's kind of cool. We have some neat fighting, and it boils down to, can't do this. I know you're in there. I love you. Blah, blah, blah. He jumps off the bridge. Hulk goes after him. Cake Thing's begging to be killed. And almost kills Hulk. And Jen snaps and is about to kill Cake Thing when Patsy Walker shows up. Because that's what Patsy does. And, whoa. Has anyone told the artist that you can't draw women like this in SJW Marvel anymore? She definitely has some, butt cleavage going on there, and she's shapely. She's built like a attractive woman. You can't do that anymore. Didn't you get the memo? So anyway, Hulk jumps off and takes off away, and Cake Thing is taken to a hospital, and Jen talks to him, while he's in a coma, and Jen came out of a coma, so now Cake Thing's in a coma, and yeah, a whole lot of nothing. But here's the part that ticks me off. It's like I've been saying. We finally see Patsy out of her costume as she's talking to Jen. It took me a moment to realize who it was. So yeah, they talk about Oliver still being in a coma, and then Jen says the dumbest thing. She says, I wish Bruce was here. I mean, even if he never told me half the stuff that was going on, here's the big thing. I feel like there's no one else who could possibly understand. Bullcrap. Again, Mariko has not read, she knows nothing about this character. Like I mentioned earlier, what about Doc Samson? He is the perfect person. He is a psychiatrist in the superhuman community. He's also gamma radiated. Amadeus Cho is now the Hulk. Jen knows him. She knows he is around. There's also, like, the Red Hulk. There's, like, at least 3 Hulks going on. But at least Patsy is starting to ask the important questions about when Jen turns into Hulk, how much control she has. And, Jen says, I do, maybe I don't. When Captain Marvel was keeping the Chill Hulk under surveillance, after Bruce died because she thought he was going to snap, why isn't Carol doing that to Jen? Why isn't anyone doing that to Jen? With all this going on, you would think someone may have been reporting, hey, look, there's a gray female Hulk, could be She-Hulk, could be someone. You would think that would pique the attention of the other superheroes, but no, it doesn't. So the issue ends with Jen and Patsy under surveillance by a woman named Robin. This is actually the lead up to what will be the final story arc before the series gets canceled, as Jen is captured by the leader, which I presume will end with Jennifer turning back into the Green She-Hulk, being quote-unquote cured by the leader. I'm calling it now. So we got one more issue we're going to cover, and that will be issue 11, kind of a breather issue. So let's go on and get involved in that because this is killing me. So here we are, issue 11. Now this is kind of a breather issue. We just got done with the 2 storylines before, kind of dark. After this is where the series gets renumbered and then retitled to She-Hulk before it gets canceled. But I figured I'd stop with the breather issue. And let's start with this cover here. I like this cover. Striking characters against a plain white background. It's very simple, and I like the design of She-Hulk here. This is the most feminine that we've seen her throughout the series. Muscular, but she still looks feminine. And I'm not even sure the artist knew that she's gray now. I kind of got the impression that they were still drawing green She-Hulk, but I like this look. I can live with this. And then you turn the page, and oh dear God. I said it before, Mariko. Stop trying to be funny. I don't know if they've been doing this for a while. I stopped reading the opening things. But here we have Mariko on the credit page, writing it like it's Jen addressing the reader in first person, and it's not funny. No, stop trying to be funny. So here we have Hellcat and Jen, getting ready for a date night. I guess Jen is going out for a date, and Hellcat's now going through Tinder, or whatever the superhero equivalent is. Now, I can't help but wonder, did someone in editorial sit Mariko down and tell her, hey, Jen is supposed to be a fun character. She's not brooding, she's not dumb, she's smart, she's funny. But, wait, hold on a second. Okay, maybe someone did sit the artist down, or maybe Mariko did do her homework, because she's wearing a Fantastic Four t-shirt, and that outfit that she's holding up, that's the outfit she wore in the sensational She-Hulk graphic novel. It got destroyed in that graphic novel, but maybe she had a couple versions of it, but that's definitely the outfit she wore, so maybe someone did sit Mariko down and make her go through back issues. So, but the problem is, she starts talking to the captions, and then Patsy starts talking right to the reader, and Jen says, hey, I'm the only one that gets to talk to the reader. Oh look, fourth wall breaking. Mariko, too little too late at this point. Now it's just mood lash, especially if you sat down and read the previous 10 issues in a row and then come to this like I have. It's mood whiplash. It makes no sense. I appreciate whoever sat you down and had a little talk with you about why this series isn't working, and now you're trying to go the other way, and it doesn't work. So after a quick little montage of previous She-Hulk flames, Jen goes on her date with, I guess it's supposed to be a alt-right type person, and Jen's still interacting with the captions, and suddenly her date turns out to be a killer robot. In fact, everybody in the restaurant turns out to be a killer robot. So apparently, Robin, who we saw in the previous issue, is testing Jen and seeing her mental capabilities and what changes between Jen to She-Hulk, and then Patsy joins in and they start bashing robots and talk about, we finish this, and then Taco. It's kind of a euphemism, I guess. Nah. So it ends up that they end up literally at a taco truck afterwards, and Jen and Hellcat are talking about what happened with the date and why Jen can't have nice things, and is someone trying to ruin her date or just kill her? And then the issue ends with the captions getting all romantic again, and which can include cheesy music on a portable radio, tacos, and the company of a really great friend. Sitting there with her best friend, Jen couldn't help but wonder. And then, of course, Jen yells at the captions. I'll be honest, when reading this, I thought Hellcat was going to reach over and kiss her. Look at the body language and, the way they're facing forward to one another. And I'll be honest, since the beginning of the series, I've been getting that hinted lesbian vibe that they have between Captain Marvel and Spider-Woman. I've been getting it from these two since the beginning of the series. And I'll be honest, it would not surprise me if Mariko had them kissing in the original script and the editor stepped in and said, nope, can't do that. So that is a look at the first 11 issues of the Hulk series. Like I said, the last story arc here, where it's retitled to She-Hulk before it gets canceled, we'll do a separate video on that. But the previous 11 issues, I had kind of high hopes for. As I mentioned, Jennifer Walters is my favorite Marvel character, and there was so much potential with the whole Jen Walters being afraid to become She-Hulk. We've seen some of this before. The PTSD, dealing with the death of Bruce, kind of new, but it was so wasted. The story was poorly paced, poorly plotted. I don't know how this got through, because it was obvious that for the first 10 issues, Mariko had never even read a She-Hulk book and had no idea about the character. Heck, when Bruce was shot into space, and when Jen found out, she kicked Tony Stark's ass for doing it. So why didn't she go and visit Hawkeye? At least have a talk with Clint. Why did he do this? Why was it Carol Danvers or anyone in the superhero community checking up on her? Only Patsy Walker did. And there was a lot of lesbian vibes going on with that. The series just flopped on so many levels, and that's the problem with the current Marvel. Well, at least under Axel Alonso. I'm hoping the new editor-in-chief is going to turn the ship around, because these characters, these books are not being canceled because of diversity. It's that they're poorly written heaps of trash. I don't understand how anyone could have allowed this series to go on as long as it did. But it happened, and here we are, and the title is being deservedly canceled, so. Well, thanks for sticking around on this. I'm going to do one more video as soon as the current She-Hulk run ends, and have a look at those last 4 issues. The first 2 in that storyline are actually not that bad. Had the Hulk series started that way, I think it would have been far better received. So anyway, as always, thanks for watching.